Hello, my name is Markus Helavuori from the HELCOM Secretariat. I'd like to thank you and the World Maritime University for the opportunity to contribute to this workshop. Unfortunately, I couldn't be there in person, but I will provide you with a short video message and PowerPoint about how HELCOM works in incorporating science into policy. So first, a few words about the Baltic Sea. It's a unique but rather fragile ecosystem because it's a semi-enclosed sea area with a slow water exchange. It has brackish water and it's also quite shallow. And currently the state of the Baltic Sea is not very good. The HELCOM Helsinki Commission or Baltic Marine Environment Protection Commission, as the full name is, it works towards protecting the Baltic Sea from various human impacts. And it's based on a convention, the Helsinki Convention, which was adopted in 1974. And currently, the Helsinki Commission has 10 contracting parties. These are the 9 coastal states of the Baltic Sea, plus the EU. And in addition, we have a number of observers, intergovernmental organizations, and non-governmental organizations. The decision-making process in HELCOM is very much founded on the transfer of science into policy. And typically a contracting party will bring a proposal to the table to address a problem. Various expert groups or subgroups within HELCOM will then consider that proposal and use the available science in order to consider the justification for that proposal and the options for how to deal with the problem at hand. And in many cases, HELCOM is itself also involved in creating the science. We are involved in a number of projects, and we also cooperate with many projects that are ongoing in the contracting parties. The HELCOM working groups would typically then consider the proposals further, develop some new instrument or agreement based on that for adoption or approval by the heads of delegation. And then if it's a higher level decision that is needed, then these instruments will be also submitted for adoption to the Helsinki Commission or even the HELCOM ministerial meetings, which are organized once every 3 years. And I can mention a couple of the main HELCOM working groups, which may be of most interest to the World Maritime University and this workshop. And the first one is the HELCOM Maritime Working Group, which works to prevent pollution from ships, from operational discharges, and also from accidental pollution. And the Maritime Group has a number of expert working groups or subgroups working on matters such as AIS data, green technologies and alternative fuels for ships, port reception facilities, safety of navigation, and also ballast water and invasive species. Another one of the main groups is the response group, which works on organizing the cooperation and collaboration by the HELCOM countries and the EU in response to incidents, so oil spills and spills of harmful and noxious substances. And this group also has a number of subgroups working on, for instance, oil wildlife response, aerial surveillance, response on the shore, and also submerged hazardous objects in the Baltic Sea. And as an example for how we are currently working on transferring science into policy, I could mention project platforms. And this is a fairly new concept developed by Interreg. That's a funding mechanism for the Baltic Sea region. And project platforms aim to increase the cooperation on a thematic field and to increase the impact of projects. And they support the exchange of knowledge between projects to ensure the durability of the outcomes, for example, into policymaking processes. And one example of such a project platform is C-SHIP, which stands for Clean Shipping Project Platform. It has 14 partners and is working with the outcome of 7 different projects in the Baltic Sea region, but it's also open for other projects about clean shipping. And within this project platform, there will be a synthesis of the results for better communication, as well as to bring scientific information into policy making. And this is the task of the HELCOM Secretariat in the C-SHIP project platform. And within this project platform, we had a policy workshop in September this year, organized back to back with the second Shipping and Environment Conference. And prior to the workshop, an online survey helped to identify the most urgent topics for future policies to support clean shipping in the Baltic Sea region. And quite a large number of experts from the region, but also from other sea areas, attended the workshop. And the most urgent policy options identified were related to the discharge of scrubber washwater, development of shore power in ports, and also the use of biocide-free antifouling paint and addressing biofouling of ships' hulls. And the workshop discussed the current knowledge and opportunities, as well as the obstacles to develop new policies on these topics. The outcome of the workshop will be used to produce guidance to the HELCOM Maritime Group for further policy developments. And this is just one example of a project platform that HELCOM is involved with. We have other ones as well, but this is the one most relevant for the topic of this workshop. And I will, to conclude, still provide a couple of concrete examples of what kind of measures have been achieved in the HELCOM work, which have been both very much based on transferring science to policy. And the first one is the joint proposal to the IMO to designate the Baltic Sea as a NOx emissions control area under MARPOL Annex 6. This started with quite a lot of background work within HELCOM, also in cooperation with OSPAR, who did also a proposal to designate the North Sea as a NOx emission control area. But it began with the science and the information about emissions from ships and their impacts on the marine environment, as well as consideration of the possibilities of addressing this issue. And as I'm sure you're all aware, this proposal was eventually approved and adopted at the IMO, and it is in force, and it will start with the so-called Tier 3 of MARPOL Annex 4, MARPOL Annex 6, for dramatically reducing NOx emissions from new ships built after 2021. And the most recent example, also a very concrete one, where we worked on transferring science into policy, was the joint proposal to designate the Baltic Sea as a special area under MARPOL Annex 4 to limit the discharge of sewage from passenger ships in the Baltic Sea. Again, it started by long negotiations and lots of research by HELCOM and the contracting parties on the quantities and compositions of sewage being discharged into the Baltic Sea from ships, and also the impacts of that sewage on the Baltic Sea environment. And after long negotiations, a joint position on this was agreed, and a joint proposal to the IMO was submitted for establishing of this special area. And as you may know, it was adopted already in 2011, and it entered into force for new ships in June this year, and it will be expanded also to existing ships in 2021. So these are a couple of examples of what has been achieved in recent years in HELCOM and how we work with science and transferring that into the decision-making process. Thank you very much for this, and I hope you have a productive and enjoyable rest of the workshop.